When a cop is wrongfully convicted of murder, he makes one final plea to hug his son before he's taken away. But as he holds him, he notices the bruises, the way he trembles in his arms. Then the boy whispers something that stops his heart cold. Something is very, very wrong. The courtroom buzzed with tense anticipation, the air thick with the weight of the verdict about to be delivered. Detective Marcus Reed, a man who once commanded respect in the Helena Police Department, sat motionless in his orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. His face remained unreadable, but the steel in his eyes and the slight clench of his jaw betrayed the storm brewing inside him. The jury finds the defendant, Marcus Reed, guilty of first-degree murder. The words struck him like a blow, but he refused to react. He had prepared for this moment, knowing that the justice system, the very one he had sworn to uphold, had failed him. A setup, a perfectly orchestrated frame job that painted him as a cold-blooded murderer. The prosecution had woven a narrative so airtight, so flawless, that even his closest colleagues had turned their backs on him. The evidence had been damning. Ballistics confirmed that the bullet lodged in Martin Cross's skull came from Marcus's service weapon. Surveillance footage placed him near the scene at the time of the murder. Testimonies from fellow officers corroborated his supposed motive. Cross was an informant gone rogue, and Marcus had been the last officer assigned to him. The truth, however, was something far more sinister. Marcus had spent months in pretrial detention, screaming his innocence to deaf ears. He knew someone had orchestrated this entire thing, someone with power, someone who wanted him silenced. The moment he fought back, trying to dig deeper into the case, he had been thrown under the bus. His closest friend, Detective Evan Carter, had nearly been suspended for questioning the evidence against him. The warning had been clear: stay silent or suffer the same fate. Now sentenced to life in maximum security, he wasn't thinking about himself. His eyes scanned the courtroom, searching for the one face that mattered. His 8-year-old son, Noah. He was the only one Noah had left after his mother passed away in a hit-and-run 3 years ago. The driver was arrested, but it didn't matter. Noah had lost his mother, and now he was about to lose his father too. He sat at the back, his small hands clutching a tattered stuffed bear, the one Marcus had given him when he was 5. His face was streaked with silent tears, his lower lip trembling as he tried to stay strong. The sight shattered Marcus in a way that no prison sentence ever could. The judge's voice cut through the heavy silence. "Does the defendant have any final requests before transfer?" Marcus's breath hitched. He only had one. "Please, just let me hug my son one last time." A murmur spread across the courtroom. Even the judge, a man known for his brutal sentencing, hesitated. A moment of humanity flickered across his face before he exhaled heavily. 3 minutes. The bailiffs moved toward Noah, gently leading him to the front of the courtroom. Marcus felt his hands tremble as they unlocked his cuffs just for this moment. And then, Noah was in his arms for the last time. He clung to Marcus, his small fingers digging into the fabric of his jumpsuit. Marcus pressed a kiss into his dark curls, inhaling the familiar scent of his son's shampoo. "It's okay, buddy," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I love you so much. You're going to be okay." Noah shook his head fiercely, his shoulders trembling. Then he whispered something that made Marcus's blood run cold. "Daddy," he said, his voice barely audible. "If you don't stop him, he'll hurt me too." Marcus's body went rigid, a silent, violent fury igniting inside him. His grip instinctively tightened for a fraction of a second before he quickly let go. He scanned Noah's face, then his arms and neck. His stomach dropped when he saw it. A faint bruise just beneath the sleeve of his shirt. His world narrowed. Noah had just given him the first clue in a case he didn't even know he was working. His voice remained calm, but his mind was racing. "Who, Noah?" he murmured. "Who told you that?" Noah hesitated, but before he could answer, the bailiffs yanked Marcus back. "Time's up." Marcus tried to resist, but they pulled him away from his son's grasp, dragging him toward the exit. "No, no, I need more time!" Noah was in danger. He twisted back, his eyes locking onto his son's. "Stay with Uncle Evan, you hear me?" Noah nodded frantically, but his tear-filled eyes haunted Marcus as the door slammed shut. The prison walls felt like they were closing in, but it wasn't the weight of his conviction pressing down on Marcus Reed. It was the suffocating knowledge that his son was in danger. He had spent the past 48 hours doing everything in his power to raise the alarm. He had demanded to speak with a child welfare agent, a detective, a warden, anyone who would listen. Every request was met with the same cold indifference. You lost your right to be concerned about that boy the second you put a bullet in Martin Cross's head. No amount of insistence, no desperation in his voice, could sway the guards who saw him as nothing more than a convicted murderer grasping at straws. To them, he was a liar, a manipulator, a man who would say anything to save himself. But this wasn't about him. Noah was in danger, and no one cared. Marcus paced his small cell, hands clenched into white-knuckled fists. His mind raced through every case he had worked, every arrest, every powerful enemy he had made. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to take him down, and now they were going after his son. He had to find a way to warn Evan. Across the city, Detective Evan Carter wasn't sleeping. The dim glow of the desk lamp in his apartment flickered as he sifted through stacks of old case files. His suspension had sidelined him, but it had also given him one advantage. No one was watching him anymore. No one was controlling what he could and couldn't investigate. And for weeks, he had been trying to piece together what really happened the night Martin Cross was murdered. Marcus had been right about one thing. This wasn't just a frame job. This was a calculated execution. Somebody inside the department wanted Cross dead, and they needed Marcus to take the fall for it. But why? Evan tapped his pen against the desk, staring at the timeline of events pinned to the wall. There was a glaring gap, one that should have been filled by eyewitness testimony. But no one had come forward. Not a single person in the building had seen anything. Or at least, that's what they claimed. Evan exhaled sharply and reached for an old contact book. If the official witness list had nothing, he needed to look somewhere off the record. He flipped through the pages until he landed on a name. Elena Vasquez. A bartender, an informant, and someone who had mysteriously disappeared shortly after Cross's murder. If anyone knew something, it was her. He found her in a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. The place reeked of stale cigarettes and cheap liquor, the flickering neon sign casting an eerie red glow across the parking lot. Room 214. Evan knocked. No answer. He knocked again, more forcefully this time. Elena, it's Evan Carter. The door cracked open just an inch, revealing a pair of wide, terrified eyes. Go away, Elena whispered. Evan shoved his foot against the door before she could shut it. I just need to talk. Her gaze darted down the hall, paranoia etched into every movement. She took a shaky breath. If you're here, then you already know I'm dead either way. Evan's jaw tightened. Not if you tell me who set Marcus up. Elena hesitated, her fingers trembling as she gripped the edge of the door. You don't understand, she whispered. These people, they don't just kill you, they erase you. Evan's pulse quickened. Then let's make sure they don't get the chance. Tell me what you know. She exhaled, stepping back just enough to let him inside. The room was a disaster. Half-packed suitcases, scattered papers, and a handgun resting on the bedside table. They came looking for me 3 nights ago, she said, voice shaking. I barely made it out. They're tying up loose ends. Evan pulled out his phone, ready to take notes. Who's behind this? Elena swallowed hard. Not just cops, someone higher. Someone with money. Martin Cross found something he wasn't supposed to, and now Marcus is paying the price. Evan's grip on his phone tightened. Then we need to find out what Cross knew before it's too late.